Welcome in, everyone, to Football Addicts Anonymous. Rainy, really rainy Monday here in Athens, Georgia.
It's rainy up here too in New York. So
Um, had a great weekend of sports. Had the draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I watched every single minute of it, every single pick, all 259. Great times. um, but yeah, we also had the FCS quarterfinals going on. Those were all yesterday. All pretty good games as well. So talk about all that. And we won't do our would you rather, or we won't do our divisional recaps today. We'll start that on the Friday show. So, all right. So we'll start off talking about the draft, just some general stuff here. Chris, I'll let you go first. Your favorite first round selection this year?
so I was looking at the first round just now while you were doing the intro, and I'm trying to pick who my favorite pick was. I mean, I know live we had talked about Rashawn Slater slipping down to the Chargers, but I don't know. I'm looking at the later picks though, and a couple that stand out to me are, I know we kind of mentioned this one too, but the Travis Etienne one, initially we both were like, why? But then we realized it was Lawrence and Etienne reuniting together. So I like that pick for that reason. I still don't really understand how he fits with the Jaguars. Like, I don't know how they're going to split the carries or whatever with Robinson. But the other pick I really like is the Vikings getting Christian Darrisaw at 23. Because along with that was the trade with the Jets. So they acquired 2 third-round picks along with that. And Christian Darrisaw was a guy that in a lot of the mock drafts that I saw and a lot of the ones I did, he was going to the Chargers at 13. So once the offensive linemen started to slip a little bit, I think that made Darrisaw get knocked all the way down to 23 there. So that was good value there for the Vikings.
Yeah. As far as my favorite first rounder there, I'm gonna be a homer and go Devontae Smith with the Eagles. You know, they needed receivers badly. Kind of missing on the Jalen Reagor selection last year. But I mean, if the thing is, if Jalen Reagor is healthy this year, you know, him and Devontae Smith should be just crazy speed on the Eagles side there. But I liked him, and I also liked your Jets. They're I mean, both picks together, but really coming up for Vera Tucker there. I think he'll be a solid interior presence on that Jets offensive line to get their run game going.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the pick as well, obviously, but kind of like I joked about during the live broadcast, I'm just kind of mad that the Vikings didn't get him.
Yeah,
because he was mocked to them in every single draft we ever saw. So
yeah. One interesting note for the first round was that came out after the Kadarius Toney pick that the Giants traded back with the Bears for so they could go get Justin Fields. The Giants picked Kadarius Toney at 20, and the Jags, they wouldn't have even had Travis Etienne because they were thinking of picking Kadarius Toney at 25. Urban Meyer said he was disappointed that they couldn't get him. So, yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of picks that caused other players to go other places. I think the first one really, was obviously the San Francisco picking Trey Lance,
Yeah.
over Mac Jones, but also at number 5, the Bengals going with Jamar Chase because that caused Sewell to fall to 7 with the Lions there. But
Yeah. Another one was the Eagles trading up ahead of the Giants because I heard that the Giants were ready to take Devontae Smith at 11, but then the Eagles traded in front of them. So, all right. So favorite overall pick now. Little tougher, I would say. And I don't know why I can't think of it right now. Very unprepared today. I didn't think of looking it up until like I was already on the Zoom. But it's fine. Can skip that for now, but unless you have your favorite overall pick, because I know who my favorite draft overall is.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple. Like, obviously, there's a lot of names in the second round that could have easily gone in the first round. Like the Jets getting Elijah Moore at 34, the Broncos Javonte Williams at 35. Tevin Jenkins fell all the way to the Bears at 39. And then there's another couple ones like Asante Samuel falling to 47 with the Chargers. And I think one of the biggest ones here, or a couple of the biggest ones, Azeez Ojulari not going until number 50 with the Giants, and JOK, the linebacker, going to Cleveland at 52. Obviously, a lot of those names are mocked in the first round, but my favorite overall section, I got to be a little bit of a homer here. And I got to say that my favorite selection in the entire draft was the second pick in the 6th round, safety out of Florida State, Hamza Nasir-Eldin to the Jets.
Yep.
I thought that was an amazing pick for them, getting him in the 6th round. So I was pumped about that one.
Yeah. One that I have is the Panthers. They get it. They got Davion Nixon all the way down in the 5th round. I thought that was very solid. I think I saw another one too here. The Cowboys, they had a couple solid ones there in the mid rounds. Jabril Cox out of LSU, he went in the 4th round. That was injury related. He had shoulder surgery that some teams weren't comfortable with, but going in the 4th round there.
Another guy I just want to mention too, in the 6th round, a guy that was mentioned a lot, probably more because of his teammates than anything, but Quincy Roche goes to your Steelers in the 6th round, number 216 overall.
Yeah, I was very excited about that one. Should be, I would think, an early down or a early career pass rush specialist for the Steelers at outside linebacker to help alleviate the Bud Dupree loss. So, anyways, one of my favorite drafts, I should say, I guess. But I know the one right off the top of my head was the Panthers. They went J.C. Horn in the 1st, Terrace Marshall in the 2nd. They got Brady Christensen, the tackle out of BYU, in the 3rd. Tommy Trent, tight end out of Notre Dame, in the 3rd as well. Chuba Hubbard, a new backup for Christian McCaffrey, in the 4th. Davion Nixon in the 5th, like I said. Keith Taylor, corner out of Washington, in the 5th. Deontay Brown, guard out of Alabama, in the 6th. Also in the 6th, Shi Smith, wideout out of South Carolina. long snapper out of Alabama, Thomas Fletcher in the 6th as well, and then Phil Hoskins, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. Hoskins and Fletcher are really the only two ones I didn't like, because I think, they got starters in the first 3 rounds. J.C. Horn at corner, Terrace Marshall at wide receiver, Brady Christensen at left tackle, and then Tommy Tremble at tight end. I think they hit on all 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, the other guys, I think Chuba Hubbard was fantastic at Oklahoma State. Didn't have a good 2020, but his 2019 was he led the country in rushing. Nixon, we talked about him a bunch from Iowa there. Keith Taylor's an underrated guy at Washington. Washington always has solid DBs. And then Deontay Brown, road grader at guard. He's 360 pounds, I believe. Should help out in the interior there. Shai Smith, really shifty return specialist, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the better drafts in this class too. But I don't want to get too excited about my Jets, but I think they had one of the best drafts as well. Obviously, going and getting Zach Wilson, number 2 overall, their hopeful future franchise quarterback for the next 10 plus years. And then they had to do that trade up for Elijah Vera Tucker. So they lost their 2 third-rounders. But despite losing their 2 third-rounders, they still ended up with 10 selections overall. They got Elijah Moore, who a lot of people had going in the first round. They got him in the second round. Then they somehow Michael Carter, the running back, fell all the way down to them in the 4th round. So I was very excited about that one too. Because a lot of people thought that the Jets should have gone with Javonte Williams with their second pick, but I'm glad that they didn't, because I personally like Carter better. So, and then I mentioned the Hamza Nasruddin pick before. I'm still mind blown that he actually lasted to the 6th round there. And then they picked a bunch of defensive backs / linebacker people too. So that was more of the quantity over quality approach, but you'd have to think that at least one of those guys has got to be useful. But yeah, I think they had one of the best drafts. But if I don't want to be a homer, I got to say that I think the Denver Broncos also had one of the best drafts. Obviously, they got the consensus number 1 corner with their first pick there, with Patrick Surtain at number 9. And then they got Javonte Williams, like I was saying. And then they got another one of our friends there in Quinn Miners in the 3rd round. And this is, I think, is another steal here in round 3. They also got the linebacker Baron Browning at 105 overall. So I thought that was a pretty good value there for him. Yeah, they hit a lot of holes. They filled in a lot of holes here with their draft. So I really like the Broncos draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I've just been writing down prospects that I've liked, their fits here, and also the non-first round quarterbacks. Also, I've been writing those down. So the quarterbacks are interesting. The guys that went on days 2 and 3, and where they went. So, because we know, at least right now, that none of the guys that went after the first round are going to be starters.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like where most of them went. To start off, the 6th quarterback taken in the draft. Contrast to the Bucks, I really loved that selection. Last pick, the 2nd round. I think that's a perfect fit to succeed Brady in a couple seasons here. So
Yeah, as a football analyst, that's a great pick. But as a Saints fan, I hate that pick because I think him sitting behind Brady is just going to help him succeed even better, even more. And if all goes well for the Buccaneers with that pick, they could still be running that division in the next 5-10 years.
yeah, I do agree. I mean, the thing is, if Sam Darnold works out in Carolina, I think that's going to end up being one of the best rivalries in the league in a couple seasons. I mean, it could even be like if Sam Darnold works out this year, it could start this year with Darnold Brady, and then go Darnold.
I mean, Darnold Brady already had a couple seasons in the AFC East, and that was very one-sided. So I'm just saying.
Well, they weren't even teams. I'm not saying the Panthers and Bucks are even right now either, but I think the Panthers are one of the most upcoming teams on the upward trend in the league. So I think, like I said, that could end up being very solid there. Next quarterback, Kellen Mond to the Vikings was probably, I think, the most intriguing selection out of the day 2 and 3 quarterbacks. Actually, was there even a quarterback selected on day 3? Oh no, there was. Yeah, never mind. But
there was a couple.
Yeah, Kellen Mond backing up Kirk Cousins. I'm not sure because yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Kellen Mond. He's improved every season at Texas A&M. So
yeah, I didn't really like that pick that much. I mean, he's probably like my 7th or 8th quarterback in this class, which, I mean, that's what he ended up being in the draft too. He was the 7th overall quarterback picked, but I mean, yeah, he's a project. Obviously, like you said, he's going to back up Kirk Cousins for at least for this year, possibly even next year. I can't think of Kirk Cousins' contract right now, but I think it's a multi-year deal still. So
yes.
Yeah, I don't see Kellen Mond starting till at least his 3rd season, which, I mean, it's worked out for quarterbacks in the past, obviously, but quarterbacks have had better starters than Kirk Cousins to sit behind. So I don't know. I didn't really like the selection, but it's nothing against Kellen Mond. It's where he went, really.
Yeah, like I said, he's improved every single year at Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher gives him very high praise, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up as a starter, whether it's Minnesota or somewhere else. Next quarterback was Davis Mills to the Texans. That was their first selection of this draft. And when I was watching the draft and Davis Mills got picked, Rich Eisen had the funniest reaction, I thought. He's like, what? What? What are the Texans doing? So they have way too many quarterbacks now. With Deshaun Watson, Tyrod Taylor, Ryan Finley, and now Davis Mills. Plus, they had 1 or 2 other guys. that I don't remember who their names are.
Yeah, I don't. We didn't go over our worst drafts, but I think the Texans are probably among the bottom of the league with the drafts. Starting with that pick of Davis Mills, because I mean, maybe they're just setting themselves up for the future in case things with Watson obviously don't work out, and obviously Tyrod Taylor is not the long-term answer. So I don't know. Maybe they just thought, got a guy like Davis Mills now that can sit behind whoever for the next couple of years and hopefully develop into a solid starter for them.
Yeah, like I said, Texans and Raiders, two teams. I have no idea what the plan was going into the offseason. The moves have not been in correlation. So,
I mean, the Raiders with Mike Mayock are always a wild card, though. So,
yeah. So the last quarterback I have, or no, I have two more actually. Ian Book to the Saints in the 4th round. That was interesting as well. I thought they could have gone quarterback earlier, but wait and get Ian Book. I thought 4th was going to be too high in a lot of people's minds. He is the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history, which is saying something. There's a lot of good Notre Dame quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be the 3rd quarterback this year anyways.
Yeah. I mean, as a Saints fan, I really didn't like that pick at all. Like you said, I think that if they were going to go quarterback, they should have gotten one earlier in the draft, like a Davis Mills or a Kellen Mond. But I think that despite Drew Brees retiring, I think they're still kind of in that win now mode because they have so many other big contracts that are coming off the books soon. So I think that they're still in the win now mode. So they spent all their early picks on other positions of need. So and I also don't like the pick too. Despite what Ian Book did in his college career at Notre Dame, I've heard a lot of experts say that they see his ceiling as a backup in the league. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, it's limited arm strength is really the biggest issue I think that Ian Book has, because he is very efficient and can move around in the pocket when he needs to. But yeah, I just think arm strength and real playmaking ability is his biggest issues.
I mean, I guess it's good that they picked him though, because the Saints aren't known for throwing it down the field too much anyway. They normally just do the short passes to Kamara or the 10-yard outs to Michael Thomas. So,
well, I think that's been the case in the last couple of seasons because Breeze couldn't throw it downfield. I think it'll open up a lot this season, especially if Jameis Winston is the quarterback, because as we know, Jameis Winston has one of the greatest arms in the league. So, all right, last quarterback I had to talk about, Sam Ehlinger to the Colts in the 6th round. I was kind of laughing about this one when he got selected, because I was like, oh, here we go. Carson's going to be mad. They selected a quarterback.
I mean, he can't be mad at that, though. It's not like they went and picked a guy 1st overall. They got a quarterback in the 6th round. I mean, I loved the pick because I think that Ehlinger, he could actually develop into a great quarterback in this league. And obviously we all know Wentz's history with injuries and stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, I know they still have Jacob Eason, I think, on the roster, and I don't know if they have another quarterback.
Nope.
So, I mean, I guess it'll be between Eason and Ehlinger, or wait, is it Ehlinger or Ehlinger? I can't.
I have always known it to be Ellinger. I know
Okay.
some of the guys on NFL Network said Ellinger, but
Yeah. Well, it's between those two young quarterbacks for the backup spot, obviously. So, um, this was nothing against Wentz, obviously, other than his history of not being able to stay on the field. They needed to just have some competition for the backup and to have, well, yeah, a surefire backup in case he goes down.
yeah. Um, the Colts will be very hurt if Carson Wentz goes down. I don't think Jacob Eason is ready to start in the league yet.
Mm-mm.
Uh, Definitely Sam Ellinger is not either. But I think the similarity between all three of their quarterbacks, though, is toughness. Regardless of Carson's injury history, he is one of the tougher quarterbacks in the league. He'll put his body on the line for his team. So I know definitely Sam Ellinger does the same. I've seen that when he played at Texas. And Jacob Eason, I don't think is as tough as those two, but I still believe he would sacrifice, to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, if the Colts aren't done yet, if they don't believe in one of those other two guys as the backup, they can always go and get Wentz's former backup in Philly and trade with the Bears to get the Foles, but who knows?
Well, we'll talk about Falls in the news segment here. One other draft that I really liked was the Miami Dolphins. Going Jalen Waddle in the first, Jalen Phillips in the first, Javon Holland in the second as the first safety, Liam Eichenberg in the second as well. Hunter Long, love my guy Hunter Long going to the Dolphins in the third, even though he's going to be the backup to Mike Gesicki. They'll run two tight ends. That's fine. And then Larnell Coleman in the seventh, probably their weakest selection. Garrett Dokes in the seventh, I thought, running back out of Cincinnati. Watched him a bunch this year in the AAC. Very tough physical runner. They need a running back in Miami anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that he's going to be the starter, but he'll definitely have a role, I believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who the backs are in Miami right now. And anyway, it's Myles Gaskin, I know, but I don't know who else they have.
Salvin Ahmed as well.
So yeah, they did need running back help. And again, I try not to be biased when I'm looking at these picks and stuff, but again, as a Jets fan, I hated that draft because they had a great draft. I thank God that the Bengals went and took Chase, because I mean, I think Waddle's going to be a solid receiver too, but I think at the end of their careers, Jamar Chase will have the better career. So I'm glad that the Bengals went and got him, and now he's in your division with the Steelers.
Couple of drafts I didn't really like that much. The Rams. Well, actually, I'll go to the Rams first, I guess. So they didn't have a first round pick, and then they go get Tutu Atwell, which I'm not against. I like Tutu. Ernest Jones should be a solid linebacker for them. But then their later round picks, I was not a fan of. Jacob Harris out of UCF, wide receiver there. I had never really heard of his name. Not a lot of production in college. Ernest Brown out of Northwestern, the defensive end there. I did like two of their late picks, though. Jake Funk, running back out of Maryland. I thought he was pretty solid, playing with Tua's brother, Talia. And then a guy I really liked, though, the only guy I really liked for the Rams their 7th-round wide receiver out of Notre Dame, Ben Skowronek. Big, solid jump ball guy. Not that fast, which is his issue, I think, but can definitely help you in the red zone when Matthew Stafford needs to get jump balls to someone. So, because Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, they're not the biggest guys. So, the Raiders as well, like I said, we were questioning Alex Leatherwood in the first round to them, but from what I heard is that a lot of people, there was a lot of teams in the 20s that thought that Leatherwood was going to go in the first anyways. So maybe it wasn't that much of a shocker.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, he was probably one of our biggest issues with the round one in our initial reactions. But like I said a few minutes ago, I don't question anything that Mike Mayock does because he does things very unorthodox as it is. So, and I mean, he's been relatively successful to this point. So,
yeah, they got fantastic value getting Trayvon Merrick there in the second, considered by most as the top safety, even though Javon Holland went before him.
I know a lot of mocks had him going to the Raiders, but in the first round. So, good job by them.
But then the rest of their draft, I thought was suspect. For one, they drafted 3 safeties. Granted, Divine Diablo out of Virginia Tech, more likely going to shift down to linebacker. Nate Hobbs out of Illinois, and then Jimmy Morrissey out of Pitt. Malcolm Kuntz from Buffalo, edge rusher, could work out, but yeah, a couple ones on day 3, I didn't think were that great there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm just looking over right now some of the like the bottom of the list here of the teams draft. And I'm not going to penalize teams like the Houston Texans or the Seattle Seahawks for not having a lot of picks.
Yeah, I was going to say the Seahawks.
I can't really penalize either one of those 2 teams because the Seahawks only had 3 and the Texans had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks.
6. No, 6.
Or 6. I don't know, but they both didn't start till the 3rd round. So obviously they weren't going to get a top flight player in either one of their drafts. So I can't penalize them for that. I mean, I can't think of what the Texans really did with all their draft picks, but obviously the Seahawks lacking a 1st rounder this year and a 3rd rounder this year from the trade with the Jets for Jamal Adams. So I can't really penalize them, but another team in their division, I know you already talked about the Rams, but another team in their division who I didn't really like their draft was the Arizona Cardinals. They went and got linebacker Zaven Collins in the 1st round, which not saying he's a bad player. I think they could have gone with a better player in that spot. I think they had bigger needs than linebacker there. And then their next pick, they went with wide receiver, which I think is probably one of their deeper positions on the team right now. So, I mean, obviously AJ Green's probably only going to be there for like a year or 2, but still. And then they finally addressed their hole at cornerback there with their 3rd pick, Florida cornerback Marco Wilson. And again, I think that they could have gone cornerback way earlier than that. And they could have gotten one of those 2nd-tier guys. Like, they could have traded back a few spots and still got Caleb Farley in the 1st round. So I don't know. I think that was a missed opportunity there for them. And then they got Duke edge rusher Victor Dumukeke. I don't even know how to say that.
Dumukeke.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess they do need depth on that line, but they did just go out and sign JJ Watt. They have Chandler Jones still. And they got a couple other guys too, but yeah. And then I do like one selection that they made though, and that is of UCF cornerback Tay Gallen. I was kind of surprised to see him go so late. But that was probably the one selection that I really liked of theirs. And then they went safety with Cincinnati's James Wiggins. And then they finally addressed the offensive line, getting the interior offensive lineman from Penn State, Michael Mene, or I don't know how you say that, but
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just really didn't like their draft at all.
All right. I know we're spending a lot of time on the draft, and we kind of went off the script, but I just have one more team that I didn't really like their draft, and that was the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they didn't have a first round pick. So the trade for them actually would help if we actually did grades, which we don't do. But if we did, the first round grade would bring them up probably about, 2/3 of a letter, the plus minuses and whatever.
Mhm.
So, but other than the Orlando Brown trade filling in as their first round pick, I liked their first pick and their second one. Nick Bolton, Missouri linebacker. Great. Creed Humphrey as well from Oklahoma, the center. That one was kind of suspect, though. I thought they had already gotten a million offensive linemen. I didn't really see the need to get another one. You can never have too many good offensive linemen, which I understand. But I thought there were other needs that they could have filled with their second round pick. But fourth round, Joshua Kando out of Florida State. Not too familiar with him. Noah Gray out of Duke, tight end in the fifth. They finally do get a wide receiver to fill in Sammy Watkins' spot. It's Cornell Powell out of Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
In the fifth round, not the greatest of wide receivers, not fast. He's kind of a bigger body, at least what I'm remembering. I could be wrong. No, he's not actually. 6'2", 204. But and then Trey Smith out of Tennessee in the sixth, I thought it was good value. But again, they're gonna have way too many offensive linemen. When I thought that they had already gotten, with all their free agency signings, Long, Joe Tooney, Austin Ryder, re-signing of Mike Remmers, getting Orlando Brown in the trade. I just don't know where all these offensive linemen are going to go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they focused heavily on the offensive line this offseason, but it might be a little bit of an overreaction, but we saw what happened to them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When their offensive lineman went down, the Chiefs offense could do nothing, even with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. So I think that they were just thinking, well, we have to have two solid lines now. So if the first one goes down, we can still plug in the backups and they'll still do good. And also, I mean, they do have
Laurent Duvernay-Tardif coming back.
Yeah, they have him coming back, which he could be a little rusty after taking that year off, because I'm sure while he was trying to help fight the virus, he didn't do a whole lot of football training and stuff. So it might take him a little time to get back up to speed as well.
I'm sure he got his cardio running around the hospital all day. All right. So before we do early offensive defense rookie of the year picks, I have finally compiled a list of players I really liked and their round and team. So I already said Davion Nixon earlier. Talked about the quarterbacks, talked about Ben Skowronek. Chaz Surratt, linebacker to the Vikings in the third round. Thought that was a great fit. Eagles signed Eric Wilson away in free agency. He'll fit in right beside Anthony Barr in that Vikings defense there. Eagles. Teron Jackson, D end, Coastal Carolina in the 6th round. I loved Teron Jackson out of Coastal this year. Was pivotal in Coastal having their miracle season that they had, and a member of the Black Swarm defense that they created, the persona that they created for that defense there. I think he'll be a solid rotational pass rusher early on in a restacked Eagles front four that Howie Roseman likes to keep the cupboards very filled. So,
yeah, just a couple more guys I really like too. I mean, you kind of touched on him before, but Davion Nixon going in the 5th round there. We kind of were drawn to him when he interacted with us on our Instagram, but he's a solid plug-in player there for your Panthers. Also, a guy like Sean Wade, the corner from Ohio State, that went a couple picks after him to Baltimore. I'm surprised he lasted that long, going in the 5th round there.
It was inconsistent film. Fantastic in 2019 when he was playing the nickel in the slot. Moved outside in 2020. Had the whole issue with the Big Ten saying we're not going to play. Now we're going to play. And, just was never the same corner playing outside versus in the slot. So,
and I also just got to give a little bit of love to kickers because the Bengals selected
down too.
The Bengals selected Evan McPherson there in the 5th round, number 149 overall, and yeah, I think he was the consensus number 1 kicker in this draft, and I think he's probably the best kicking prospect in the last couple of years. So that's a good pickup for the Bengals there.
Yeah. Well, I still have a bunch more to talk about. So the 2 Steelers, one in the 2nd round, Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. Great. The Steelers, once again, still have loaded wide receiver, and now they have a loaded tight end room with him and Eric Ebron. I loved when he got selected and the guys on NFL Network were talking about him, and they're like, I don't remember if it was Peter Schrager, but this sounds like something Peter Schrager would say. They said, reminds you a little bit of Heath Miller. And Heath Miller was so good for the Steelers for a long time, his whole career in Pittsburgh, and just Mr. Reliable for Big Ben. And so I love Pat Freiermuth. It's again, though, it's going to a team that already has an established tight end, even though I think Pat Freiermuth's ceiling is above what Eric Ebron is right now. So the other Steeler I had 7th round selection. You already talked about Evan McPherson, but I want to talk about Presley Harvin, the punter. Punters are people too, as Rich Eisen would say. And yeah, Presley Harvin has a massive leg. It's interesting because I believe he will be in a competition in training camp that he will win against Jordan Berry, the incumbent Steelers punter. Because the Steelers, they did have 3 punters on the roster, but today they released Corliss Waitman, so they only have 2 now. So, yeah, I love Presley Harvin. Was kind of surprised Steelers selected him, but I like the pick there. Had Evan McPherson. You already talked about him, filling in for Randy Bullock there in Cincinnati. Trey Sermon, running back for San Francisco in the 3rd round. Will be interesting. They have Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert ahead of him already, but I think Trey Sermon could provide some pop, especially I believe both of those guys have had injury issues. I know Raheem Mostert has. Jeff Wilson has as well, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
So Trey Sermon has his own injury issues. Don't get me wrong. He had some massive injuries at Ohio State as well, and Oklahoma. But yeah, I think that he could provide some pop and some dynasty value as well.
hmm
Jalen Darden, wide receiver out of North Texas to the Bucks in the 4th round, the all-time leading receiver in touchdowns. I think all categories at North Texas. I'm pretty sure he broke all of them this past season. Diminutive receiver, but he is probably one of the better slot receivers in the draft. And he's going to a tough situation with a lot of good wide receivers in front of him.
hmm
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller. They also have, who did they draft last year? I don't know why I can't think of his name. Minnesota guy. I
I can't think of it either.
can't think. I remember the receiver was from Minnesota though. In the 5th round last year, I believe. But yeah,
Mhm.
Jalen Darden, love Jalen Darden. Hope he makes the team. He should be able to make the team as a returner if they don't already have someone. So
Yeah, because like you said, he's probably not making it as a receiver, at least for this year, because they have their entire receiving core from last year still there. So
yeah. 2 Washington football team guys, 7th rounders there. Shaka Tony, pass rusher out of Penn State.
mhm.
Again, a guy going to a tough situation where they already have a loaded front 7, but I think he could possibly make the team. We'll have to see how their pass rush snaps work out there. Dax Milne, the receiver out of BYU, Zach Wilson's teammate. I loved him at BYU. Zach Wilson made him,
Mhm.
but yeah, the Washington has three receivers. I think right now, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin. Can't think of the other ones.
No, I don't. I can't think of their third guy. But yeah, I did read an article about Milne, and it was basically saying that he's probably not going to make the active roster for Washington. So the Jets should pay attention to that and go and grab him, whether they cut him or place him on the practice squad. So I would love to see that because obviously, like you said, we the Jets picked Zach Wilson there at number 2. So getting one of his college receivers will just help his progress.
Yeah, Washington also has De'Ami Brown, who they
Yes, they drafted him too
as well. So, and then last guy I have on my long list here, Tylan Wallace, wide receiver for Baltimore, picked in the 4th out of Oklahoma State. They did pick Rashad Bateman as well in the 1st round, but I love Tylan Wallace's speed. He's sort of in the same mold as Marquise Brown, but I think Tylan Wallace has more hops. He can go up and get the ball even at only, I believe Tylan Wallace is 6 foot. Could be wrong because I usually am on heights. I'm not very good at measuring things or looking at someone and saying, "Oh yeah, they're this height." Not very good at doing that. But yeah, 5'11", 194.
You're close.
So I knew he was on the shorter side. So yeah. But I love Tylan Wallace, liked him coming out of Oklahoma State, and I think Baltimore got a good pick in the 4th round there. So
yeah, maybe Green Bay should take a page out of Baltimore's draft because that's something that we've been saying Green Bay should be doing for years. I mean, they finally drafted one this year, but
yeah, they have A. Rogers squared now in Green Bay. If A. Rogers 1 is actually going to be there this season, Um, but yeah, Amari Rodgers in the third round was a solid pickup for the Packers there.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get to offensive defensive rookie picks, Chris, you mentioned your guy Michael Carter, the running back for the Jets. How do you feel about your Jets picking two Michael Carters?
It was funny because I heard a story that in the Jets draft room after they had picked the running back, apparently the cornerback, like his picture came up on the screen, so they were really confused and really concerned that they had somehow selected the wrong one. But then they ended up picking both of them anyway, so it didn't matter. And the two of them have already had interaction on Twitter and stuff, so they're already embracing the Michael Carter squared thing, and I love it.
I know they said on NFL Network, I believe it was Daniel Jeremiah, or no, it was Charles Davis, I think, that said Michael Carter, the DB, is now named Deuce because he's Michael Carter the second. So they also said that they were just trying to draft all the Michael Carters and all of the Elijahs because Elijah Moore and Elijah Vera Tucker. So
yeah, but I think both Michael Carters should make the team, and I think they both will. So I think it'll be a fun season with the two of them going back and forth all year.
Well, don't take him in Dynasty, Chris.
No, well, I might take the running back because I think he'll eventually become the starter for New York, but we'll see.
I need him, Chris. I need Michael Carter.
It's a very thin class here this year. We were talking about that in our Dynasty chat earlier.
All right, so early offensive rookie, defensive rookie of the year picks. We will pick our official picks when we get close to the season, but since the draft has happened, I'm going to do that now. Offensive rookie of the year. I'm going to go the quarterback route right now. I think the two quarterbacks it's going to be between is Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I think because they're the only two that are clear-cut day one starters right now. So,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go away from the quarterback position because that is the most, that is the position that gets the most attention and all that. And obviously, people are saying, like, I'm just using last year as an example. People are saying that Justin Jefferson was the one that deserved the rookie of the year, but because he's a quarterback, Justin Herbert won it. But I do agree with you. I think it's one of those two guys. However, if one of these other guys gets to start, like Justin Fields or Mac Jones, I think they could be dark horse candidates for the rookie of the year, depending on when they do start. But I'm just going to go for a non-quarterback though. Just because.
Don't pick my guy.
And no, I think that I don't know which one of your guys you're talking about because you have a couple potential rookie of the year candidates there. But no, I think Jamar Chase has a solid chance at it because of his LSU connection with Burrow.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that whole target share works with him, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins there in Cincinnati. That was not my guy, though, luckily. My non-quarterback guy is the hat that I'm wearing right here. Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. I think he, just like I said with the quarterbacks, has a clear-cut shot. He is the number one running back for Pittsburgh right now. And because their running game was so crappy last year, I think there will be an early season emphasis on getting him going and running the football, limiting Ben Roethlisberger's passes in the early on games, especially with an extra regular season game now. I think they'll want to keep Ben as fresh as they can for late in the season and the playoffs. So, yeah, I think that's a key in looking at rookie of the year. You know, you have to have an opportunity to start from day one, and not even be in a training camp battle. You have to go into training camp as the starter, I think. So that's why I picked Najee Harris.
Well, your other guy too, though, there in Philly. I think isn't he the number one right now?
Yeah.
So if he and Jalen Hurts can get that train rolling, I think they can develop another connection like they had briefly in college. So yeah.
Alrighty. Defensive rookie of the year. That's always a hard one to pick. And I don't know if you want to go first.
Well, I'm looking at the because defense there wasn't much of an emphasis on defense, especially in the early half of the first round there. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a first rounder. Obviously, we've seen in the past other positions have won, but I don't know. I personally think that the my favorite defensive player in the draft has a good shot at it. Pat Surtain with the Broncos. I think he has a solid shot. I mean, granted, he is in a division with Justin Herbert and Pat Mahomes, but if he performs well in those 4 games, especially, then I think that he has a solid shot at it.
Yeah, I think my guy is probably going to be Micah Parsons with the Cowboys because of how dominant he was at Penn State. He's getting a shot right away as well with the retirement of Sean Lee. I just think Micah Parsons is going to wreak havoc and be best rookie linebacker, and obviously, like I said, the best defensive rookie this year. So, yeah, because I don't think any of the pass rushers really have a shot right now, anyways.
I mean, the only one I would consider maybe is the first one that was taken. Or no, not the first one. Sorry, the second one that was taken with Kwity Paye in Indy. I think he has a solid chance too. But other than that, I don't know.
All right. I'll just say this: the Colts also. I liked some of their picks. I don't have their draft up anymore, but I liked some of their picks. Their overall draft, though, I did not like because they did not select their left tackle. Still have a hole without Anthony Costanzo anymore. So, all right, we spent a whole hour on the draft. I think we're good now, right?
I mean, the draft is one of the biggest things of the year, so I wouldn't expect anything less from us than to spend a whole hour on it.
Yeah, well, we'll spend whole shows on them pretty much coming up in the next couple of weeks, doing all 8 of the divisions draft recaps there. So let's go on to the FCS quarterfinal games. And I'm not going to talk about the parlay. I'll talk about that in the last game because the last game is what ruined it for me, and that's when I'm going to rant. I won't rant until we get to the last game. So let's go. First game here. Sort of an upset. I had picked Sam Houston State, but number 2 seed Sam Houston State getting it done at home. 24-20 over number 6 North Dakota State. Eric Schmid was great. This game was weird, though, because it had the same feeling of Sam Houston State's first game against Monmouth, where they were up 21-0 and only won 21-15. This one, they were up 17-2. North Dakota State gets back-to-back touches on special teams, scores touchdowns on both, 94-yard kick return touchdown from Christian Watson. 76-yard punt return touchdown after the Bison defense got a stop. They go for 2, get the 2, tie it at 17. North Dakota State then, in the fourth quarter, goes down, kicks a field goal. Their first lead of the game is 20-17. Eric Schmid drives the Bearcats down, wins the game 24-20. Actually, that wasn't the end of the game, but the Sam Houston State defense held up for the second straight week in a row in the red zone and got a fourth down stop on an arid path by Cam Miller. So,
I mean, this was the result I was expecting in terms of the winner of the game, but I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more scoring, because obviously we've seen what Sam Houston State could do. But I don't know. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a gap than 4 points there. But yeah,
especially with 2 turnovers by Cam Miller.
mm-hmm.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing that FCS is going to have to be scared of. Cam Miller is only a freshman. I think Cam Miller has the makings of the next great North Dakota State quarterback. So, North Dakota State's not going away. Their reign has ended this year, snapping a streak of 9 straight semifinal appearances. Sam Houston State, however, continued their streak. They are now 15-0 all time in home playoff games. Casey Keeler, their head coach, is 29-0 now in home playoff games between Delaware and Sam Houston State, the 2 places he's been a head coach.
Wow.
So, yeah, they get another home game next week, as we'll see the bracket after we recap the games here. But yeah, Eric Schmid was pretty solid there. Not a lot going on the ground for either team. North Dakota State, especially early, was not very good on the ground, and that was one of my keys to the game. Sam Houston State, if you stop North Dakota State's running game, you're gonna win the game.
Mm-hmm.
North Dakota State ended up getting 139 on the ground, however, which was well below their average. I believe they were up in somewhere in the 190s, 200s range per game rushing the ball. So good job there. And yeah, game-winning touchdown was Eric Schmid's rushing touchdown, 6 yards. North Dakota State also got that safety. Like I said, it was 17-2 early. That was off a blocked punt that went out of the end zone. So, but yeah, not a lot of eye-popping stats in this one. Tristan McCollum, Isaiah Downs, the 2 interceptions off Cam Miller for Sam Houston State. So, yeah. Sam Houston State covered plus 2.5 under 46. 3 of the 4 underdogs covered this week.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why Sam Houston was the underdog, though. I, like you and I both said, we both picked them to win. So I thought they would have been the favorite.
Because North Dakota State is North Dakota State.
Yeah, but still.
It's like Alabama. You pick Alabama because it's Alabama.
Fair.
All right. Next team here. Number 5, Delaware, upsetting number 4 seed Jacksonville State in Jacksonville, Alabama, 20-14. The Blue Hens getting the dub. Nolan Henderson, kind of similar game to Eric Schmid there. The thing that hurt Jacksonville State, Zion Webb got hurt early on.
Mm-hmm.
They eventually ended up playing 3 different quarterbacks. Chance Newman played. He's a freshman. And then AC Graham had the most production. He is also a freshman there. But yeah, once Zion went down, it was really the Blue Hens game. I was surprised that they didn't score more than 20, but that had been their prerogative coming off the last game as well. They only scored 19 against Sacred Heart. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes where you can say that an injury didn't really impact the game that much, but in this one, I think it did. I think if Zion Webb didn't get hurt and he played the whole game, I think it would have been a completely different outcome. I think Jacksonville State would have won this one. And I think they would have won by at least a touchdown.
yeah.
So, I haven't been a huge fan of Delaware all season, but I mean, they've made it now to the semifinals, so they clearly are a good team. It's just I feel like they don't really have a true identity. They're really good one week, and then they're really bad the next, and they just keep getting lucky. I mean, obviously they're 7-0, so yeah.
Yeah, and Nolan Henderson got hurt in this game as well for a period of time. He almost got, knocked out of the game because of one hit that, if that was in the NFL, that kid would have gotten a hefty fine, as well as many games suspension, because it was just atrocious. The Nolan Henderson was running out of the pocket to the right side, to the Delaware sideline. He was still in the field of play, was slowing down to go out of bounds, and as he was crossing the out of bounds line, the Jacksonville State kid was within 3-4 feet, and just straight crown of the helmet to Nolan Henderson's helmet. And obviously he got kicked out for targeting. But yeah, it was just ridiculous. There's no need for that. The play that Henderson did get hurt, though, was a play that he got hit after he threw the ball and landed on his left shoulder, had to get it wrapped. So Zach Gwynn came in, threw a couple times, but then Henderson went back in. Tough cat. I think the issue for Delaware through the first two games, only scoring a combined 39 points, has been the absence of their running game. Dejan Lee for them in the regular season was really good, and he just has not been able to find anything on the ground in both games. Is scoring in the red zone, which is good for them. But I think in order for them to keep winning, he's going to have to give them more on the ground. So,
yeah, I mean, you say more, but like literally anything more would help. he got 19 carries for 22 yards. That's almost as many yards as carries. That's only 3 more yards than he did carries. Obviously, you put it there, the 1.2 average. So that's atrocious. I mean, Frank Gore has better yards per carry there than that 1.2. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Corey Spruill, our other main running back, has not been doing it either. Only 2.6 per there on 11 carries. So their two most productive rushers are their backup quarterback there, Anthony Pelote. He got 25 yards off 7. And then Nolan Henderson, also a capable runner, getting 30 yards off 8 carries to lead them in rushing. So, yeah. And again, I never thought Delaware had a standout number one receiver either. Gene Coleman had a great game this one, 10 for 129. More than half of Nolan Henderson's completions, as well as most of his yards there. So, what to see? Let's see how far Delaware goes yet. But shout out to Nijuel Hill and Noah Plack for the Hens getting their interceptions, and then Jaquez Payton his interception as well. Delaware covered +3. I had him at +3.5, so hit that one under 42. All right. Next one here, number 3, James Madison staying undefeated, beating number 7, North Dakota, number 3 seed, James Madison, I should say, beating number 7, North Dakota, 34-21. This is the kind of game that I wanted James Madison to play all season. Cole Johnson was fantastically efficient, still put up 251, 2 touchdowns through the air, did not turn the ball over. And Percy J. Obase had one of the probably the best game out of anyone this weekend. They just kept feeding him, and he delivered every single time. So for North Dakota, Otis Weah really did all he could to keep the Fighting Hawks in the game, despite Schuster throwing 2 picks there. One of them should have been a pick 6. I believe it was Wesley McCormick's interception was the one that should have been a pick 6, but McCormick got hurt. Yeah, I believe that's who it was, that interception. Yeah, McCormick hurt his groin on the interception and just went down after a couple of yards of running it back. But yeah, there was no one in front of him. It would have been a pick 6 easily.
Well, I mean, that obviously wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. It would have just made James Madison. Well, did they end up scoring on that? Do you know?
No.
Okay,
they scored on the first interception. They got a field goal off that one, but they went 3 and out after the second one.
So it would have just been 7 more points for James Madison there. So it would have been a bigger victory for them. But yeah, you touched on it in the beginning of the slide. This is the game we've been waiting for James Madison to have. They've been the number 1 team in the country all season. They're the number 3 team here in the playoffs. And yeah, they had their best game of the season, I think, in this one, against a pretty solid North Dakota team. And yeah, this game looks a lot better on the ground than the last one did. Like you said, the running back for JMU, 4.7 average. That's over 3 times what the other running back had. So yeah, he made the most of his carries, and then JMU also. I mean, you touched on Cole Johnson there, but his receiver there, Antoine Wells Jr., 7 for 143 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I assume he had a couple very big plays there, but
yeah, two really big plays. One was the game sealing touchdown that put them up 34-14. Yeah, 63 yards on that one. His other touchdown was 19. But yeah, Antoine Wells is a superstar in the making at receiver for the Dukes. He's only a freshman. What the quarterback transition is for James Madison next season? Cole Johnson, a 5th-year senior, so he'll be gone. But if they can get a quarterback that meshes well with Antoine Wells, JMU will once again be in the playoffs next year. So. North Dakota, though, I think they're an up-and-coming team. I think North Dakota is going to fight for the Missouri Valley Conference coming up. They got a lot of young guys. Not sure what year Tommy Schuster is. Otis Weah is junior, I believe. Skokna, sophomore, junior, I think, as well. But, yeah, I think next year, though, they should be once again fighting for Missouri Valley and in the playoffs. So JMU cover -3 over 52. I had JMU money line in the parlay. I also took it live, took live -3.5. That was at halftime when it was a close game, 20-14 at halftime. So, and JMU was lucky to get it to 20-14.5 because it was 17-14 after Otis Weah had scored with 140 left, and JMU was going to run the clock out. I was very surprised. I was like, you have, I think JMU had one timeout left. They had one timeout and a minute 40. I was like, you got a fifth-year quarterback. You can't do anything with this. You're not going to go and try to score. What are you doing? So they ran it on first down, didn't get much. Took their timeout after the play clock had gone all the way down, got it down to like 45 seconds. They ran it on second down, and what happens? Jawan Hamilton breaks one for about 15, 20 yards. Then they're like, all right, we're going now. So they finally got down, took a couple shots to the end zone. Ethan Racky hit a field goal, went to halftime up by 6 instead of 3. So, all right, last one. Chris, are you ready for the rant?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 1 seed South Dakota State took care of number 14 Southern Illinois 31-26. And I hate Southern Illinois. Hate them. I really do. I can't. I had under 54.5 in the parlay. And I was like, all right. I was like, we're okay. Going into the fourth quarter, okay, there was 37 points. So I was like, all right, we can have 17 in the fourth. That's it. That's the max points we can get in the fourth quarter. It's 17 points. I was like, that's perfect. They hadn't scored over 17 in any of the quarters yet. The highest was 16 in the second. So I was like, all right, we're good. 7 points in the third quarter was a godsend. I was like, that's probably not going to happen. Probably going to get a couple scores, but we can get 17. That's fine. So South Dakota State started coming because they were down. You know, they were down 20-10 to start the second half. The worst thing happened. There was two things that were bad. 2 turnovers by SIU really killed me because it gave South Dakota State short fields. One was on the first drive, which that one was actually good because that one resulted in a touchback. So that one was fine. But South Dakota State, the only thing with that is that they had South Dakota State went down the field in 4 plays and scored, which was way too quick, under 2 minutes, 1:56. That drive. So that was too quick of a drive for South Dakota State to score. But I was still like, all right, that's only 7. We still have a 10-point cushion with 8:06 to go. 8 minutes. We were almost halfway through the quarter. I was like, all right, we're fine. 10 points the last 8 minutes. We're okay. Then another thing that was great, South Dakota State stopped SIU on the 1-yard line. I was like, let's go. South Dakota State. On fourth down, they turn them over. Once again, though, they scored too quickly. They went 6 plays, 99 yards, 3 minutes, 16 seconds. The touchdown was a 67-yard run, so big plays, not very good for the under. So I was like, okay, we got 14 now. It was an 11-point game. It was 31-20. I was like, all right, so SIU needs a field goal and a touchdown 2-point conversion to tie in. So all I need is South Dakota State to either get a stop and then run the clock out, or get a stop so SIU can kick a field goal. And I thought that even if they kicked a field goal and made it South Dakota State was hammering them so well on the ground that they could run 5 minutes off the clock to end the game anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, freaking Southern Illinois, 31-yard touchdown to Landon Lenore, jump ball. It was just one-on-one coverage. I thought it was incomplete at first. Yeah, they didn't get the 2-point conversion, so they only scored 6. That was still 3 more than I could have. The under lost by 2.5 points.
I was wondering what that random text was last night because you didn't give any context to our group chat. You just said 2.5 points.
Mother effing points. That was the text. Yeah. With 5 million exclamation points. Because the thing is, after that touchdown, Southern Illinois defense held South Dakota State to 5 plays, 13 yards, 3 minutes, 18 off the clock. Then SIU had a drive, 10 plays, 42 yards, ended up getting picked off, game's over, and that's how it ended. So I was like, bro, why couldn't you have an interception a drive earlier? Like, if you have a drive earlier interception, you probably run the whole clock out. Granted, I don't know if they could have ran 7 minutes off, but James Madison did in their game. They had a 7-minute drive, so it's definitely possible. But yeah, that just I thought we had it, Chris. I thought it was the first FCS win of the season for me. Everything was going well. I won all 3 of the close games. Close game. I just did not think that one team would score in the 30s. That's what I said on Friday. Thought both were going to score in the 20s. And, yeah, I thought it was going to be like a 24 or 27 to 21 or something like that. I thought there was going to be 49 or 50 total points.
I mean, that's still pretty close to the actual over-under, though, of 55. But, yeah, this that's very unfortunate for you that you missed it by only 2.5 points. But, no, I'm kind of surprised with all these stats that are on here. I'm kind of surprised that Southern Illinois didn't win this one. I mean, it's clear that they had a couple trick plays in there, being that the running back Javon Williams there, he threw 2 balls obviously. So I don't know what.
Well, he's their do it all guy. He runs, catches, and throws. He's a good artist.
Then also though, we got an offensive lineman getting in on the action there too with Zevion Furcron getting a touchdown catch there.
Reception, run.
Run. So yeah, they obviously had a bunch of special plays and stuff. And I mean, before this weekend, yes, South Dakota State is the number 1 seed or whatnot, but I think I would have picked Southern Illinois to win this one. So I'm kind of surprised that they did lose, but it was still a very close game. Obviously, a few too many points for you, but.
Well, you know what I also didn't think of that actually screwed me as well? I could have had 3 less points that would have went right at 54. South Dakota State screwed me at halftime. They kicked a field goal going into half that made it 20-10 instead of 20-7. And it was because of the crappy kickoff coverage by SIU, because Isaiah Davis ran a kickoff back 50 yards. He returned it all the way to the Southern Illinois 48-yard line, which set up the 3-play drive to kick the field goal. And it didn't help that the SIU defense let up a 17-yard reception on first down. That got the ball down to the SIU, a 31. It was 31-yard reception, actually, I should say. That got it down to the SIU 17-yard line. So, yeah. Don't like SIU. They won for me last week. Eastern Washington screwed me against North Dakota State. This week, SIU screws me against South Dakota State. So, but anyways, the game itself was very competitive. Mark Gronowski, again, though, he really won the game by his legs. Obviously, I said 67-yard touchdown run there. A lot of his yards in that one. Labanowitz played his butt off, though, like he did against Weber State last week. I think they really found something in Stone Labanowitz for the solution going into next year. I think he should be their starter. Landon Lenore had a breakout game. They were searching for someone other than Avante Cox because they knew Avante Cox was going to be double teamed since he was their number one receiver. And then the Yankee brothers for South Dakota State really didn't do much. I don't believe Jackson Jackson did have one catch, I believe. Yeah, he had one for 24, but then Jaden Yankee there led the way in receiving for the Jacks, 2 for 49, scoring both their touchdowns through the air. Michael Griffin, Joshua Manjagia there, the interceptions for the Jacks. And yeah, they move on. They will host another game next week. So SIU cover plus 16 over 55. And that's the thing. I knew I should have taken the points with SIU. I knew they were a fighter. I knew the 44-3 score in their first game of the season against South Dakota State was a blooper, and it wasn't going to happen like that again. I just was not comfortable taking. I know it was a lot of points still, 2 touchdowns, but I don't know. Again, I thought I felt confident in 54.
I mean, if I had the choice, though, I think I would have gone with the spread as well. Though I think I would have gotten the plus 16 for SIU, but I mean, clearly your bet though wasn't too bad. You only missed it by 2.5 points. So
I did get, like I said, I did get the 10 that I bet on this parlay. I did get it back. Well, almost. Got it almost all back with the live spread bet of JMU. So yeah, we'll see next week. I only got 2 games to pick next week, so we'll see if I can win that one.
You're gonna have to do some individual player parlays or something there.
Unfortunately, they do not carry player prop parlays for FCS, Chris.
Make your own then.
All right. Like I said, the over 55 hits. So all right. Let's go into the brackets. This is what it looks like for next weekend semifinal games. Number 1 seed South Dakota State. They're going to take on number 5 Delaware, and then number 2 seed Sam Houston State. They will host number 3 seed James Madison. How about the Missouri Valley Conference? They came into quarterfinal week with 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. They had half of the quarterfinal slots, and only 1 advances to the semifinals. Obviously, they were only going to advance a maximum of 3 anyways because South Dakota State played SIU, both Missouri Valley teams. So, but yeah, only 1 out of the 4 made it. So
these are 2 pretty intriguing matchups, though. I mean, I think the one on the right is a little bit more intriguing.
I agree.
But depends on, I mean, I think the other one, though, Delaware, if it depends on what Delaware team shows up for that one. But I think I'd obviously pick South Dakota State in that one. And again, in this other one, though, it depends on which team shows up for both of those teams. If James Madison plays the way they did in this past weekend's game, I think they have a real shot at winning this one. But if Sam Houston plays the way that they've been playing all season, then I think it's their game to lose there.
Yeah. Early looks at it. I haven't looked at the stats for the games yet, but I'm going to go South Dakota State versus Sam Houston State, 1-2.
All right, we're on the same train there.
The South Dakota State Delaware game, I'm not as much sure about the stats, how everything breaks out, but I'm more confident in South Dakota State beating Delaware than I am Sam Houston beating James Madison. But that's what I know about Sam Houston and how they match up with James Madison off the top of my head from what I learned last week or this past week against North Dakota State. Sam Houston State is fantastic at stopping the run. James Madison is great at running the ball. That's how the matchup was against North Dakota State as well. Sam Houston State got the job done. And I think they are a very good defense. Sam Houston State's the best defense left. It's close, though. Sam Houston State and Delaware, they're pretty close defensively. I think Sam Houston has the top spot, though, just because they get more turnovers than Delaware does. So, okay. We're an hour and a half in. We're getting to the – here we go. So, one piece of college news here. The Kansas Jayhawks, they have a new head coach after their debacle with former LSU head coach Les Miles. They have hired Buffalo head coach Lance Leopold as their next head coach on a 6-year deal. His record at Buffalo, 37-33 overall, but since 2018, he has gone 24-10. Very respectable record there.
Yeah, that deal seems like it's a more of what have you done for me lately kind of thing, rather than looking at the overall picture, because the overall record is not that great. It's 37-33. Yes, it's a over 500 record, but it's only 4 games over. So it's not that great of a record, but like you said, the more recent 3-year stretch, they're 14 games over. So I'm just kind of I mean, it seems like that's been the trend in both the NFL and college recently, but the 6-year deal seems like a pretty big deal for a coach like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Lance Leopold. He really resurrected the Buffalo team. They had not been good for a little bit, and like I said, his record from 2018 very solid. He had recruited a couple good players, especially Jarrett Patterson, the 5-0 running back that scored 8 touchdowns in a game this season. Went undrafted, unfortunately, this weekend, but I'm not sure if he signed yet or not.
I believe I did see that, but I can't remember where he went.
I haven't had a chance to really look at the undrafted free agent tracker. I have just seen
he signed with Washington.
Okay. Yeah, I have just really the only undrafted free agents I know of are the guys that signed with my 3 teams. So, All right, NFL news here. The thing that I just saw on Twitter, the Panthers, they are looking for their new assistant GM to Scott Fitter, who had a fantastic draft, like I said before. An interesting name has came up that they just requested an interview with. They've requested an interview for their AGM spot with Bill's Director of Player Personnel, Dan Morgan. For anyone that watched football in the 2000s, Dan Morgan out of Penn State, linebacker, he played for the Panthers. So it would be a nice homecoming if he was able to be signed on as their AGM to Scott Fitter there. So
Yeah, and that's also been a somewhat recent trend with executive positions too, is former players. So that fit right in there with that mold.
Yeah, and I believe it looks. I'm not sure. Um, I kind of didn't understand the tweet from Ian Rappaport. I didn't know if it meant re-signed or resigned. And he mentioned the Dan Morgan interview because he also said about Luke Kuechly, who was working as a pro scout for the Panthers, but it said resigned last week. And I think it meant resigned and not re-signed.
Yeah, I think if it was re-signed, there would be the dash in the middle of the word, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, so anyways, the Falcons, their number 4 overall pick, tight end Kyle Pitts, he has his number. He will be wearing number 8 for the Falcons. So there you go, Chris. There's the first non-quarterback that was announced that is wearing a single digit.
Yeah, that I've been waiting to see what other players would be wearing the single digits. And I mean, if anybody deserves to be the first one, it's Kyle Pitts. He was the consensus best non-quarterback in the draft. So, I mean, let's see if this actually starts the trend now. Now that there's been one, let's see how many others follow suit and do the single digit thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, watching him in college, I don't know. I thought 84 looked good on Kyle Pitts, but
That is all. I mean, that's also interesting too, because 8 wasn't his college number. So,
yeah,
um,
where it stems from that he's picking 8. So,
well, was there an 84 already on the Falcons? I can't think of any. I can't think of anybody that wears it. But
no, he is 81. Never mind. I was thinking of Hayden Hurst. It is 81. So
yeah. So it's kind of interesting that he didn't pick 84 if it was available.
yeah, like I said, I'm not sure. But anyways, so it has already passed. So I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen any signings. But today at 4 p.m. was the deadline for unrestricted free agent signings to count toward the compensatory pick formula. So, like I said, over 2 hours past that deadline, and there's still some good free agents available. Like I said, surprised that we haven't seen some of the bigger names come off the board now since this deadline has passed. It might be just because the draft has been too close that it teams are still trying to figure out the undrafted free agent situation. But from what I've heard is that undrafted free agents get called during the 7th round. So it's like teams are usually right on that UDFA situation when it comes to the draft. So, right. You mentioned Nick Foles earlier, and I held my tongue because I wanted to wait until now to say it, but I highly doubt Nick Foles is getting traded anywhere, considering what his contract is. He is guaranteed $4 million this year and $5 million next year, so $9 total million in guarantees between the next 2 seasons. Is a hard contract to trade for a backup quarterback. So, highly doubt he's not going to be anywhere. He's going to be anywhere other than Chicago this year.
I mean, he already did get traded though with that same contract, but
well, the Bears reworked it and I think Jacksonville took money.
No. Well, either way, though, I don't see them keeping both Foles and Dalton. So if they somehow can't find a trade partner for Foles, I can see them going and doing what the Jets did a couple years ago and trading Dalton in training camp, even though they just signed him this year.
Yeah, could be interesting.
I think that's probably one of the most
I just, yeah,
one of the most intriguing quarterback controversies in the league right now.
yeah, and I think they're gonna start Dalton, and then let Fields sit for the first. I mean, until their record gets bad enough. But that's the thing. I remember they were talking about that on day 2 when they were talking about the field selection, and the striker was like, the Chiefs because that's what Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are trying to do. They're trying to do the Chiefs formula where they sit Justin Fields for essentially the whole 2021, learn from Andy Dalton, learn from Nick Foles, come back as the starter in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably Foles as the backup, considering he's guaranteed $5 million next year. So, but that's what Schrager was saying. He's like, the Chiefs had that luxury that Alex Smith and the roster overall was good enough to still win.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't make the playoffs that year. That's why Patrick Mahomes played in week 17 of that season. But I think, they said Andy Reid and Brett Veach didn't have the short leash that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy do in Chicago, which I think will be interesting to watch as the season unfolds this fall. So, staying in division, though, we still have the Aaron Rodgers situation going on. He was at the Kentucky Derby this weekend with Shailene Woodley, which I apologize, everyone. I know on Thursday night I said Lindsey Vonn. I got her boyfriend mixed up with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is dating Shailene Woodley. I am not a pop culture guru like Peter Stryker. So, or should I say, what's the other guy on GMFB?
Kyle
Brandt. Kyle Brandt. Yeah. He's the culture guru.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, if there is one other situation, other than Rodgers staying in Green Bay or getting traded, if he retires, Aaron Rodgers will have to pay back to the Packers a total of $23 million, $11.5 million this year, $11.5 million next year. That is all stemming from his signing bonus. So he would have to pay that back to Green Bay if he retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't necessarily say that as a point, but I forget which NFL show I was watching earlier today, but they were basically saying how they don't expect Rodgers to be traded or retire or anything. This is all just talk on his part. Like, they don't expect anything of it right now. They don't think anything of it right now. If it carries on through the summer and into training camp, then they said then it'll become an issue. But for right now, they said that they think that Rodgers is just blowing off steam and just voicing his displeasure with the team right now.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the most interesting storylines heading into the summer season. So,
I mean, not that he needs the money, but that's what, $23 million right there that he'd have to give back. So,
yeah, and from someone they said like that, I'm sure Rodgers would have no issue paying that back. I was like, how? Like, I know he has already made a lot of money, but once you're making that much money, your living style kind of
Mm-hmm.
goes a little higher. So I don't know. I mean, he is getting, money from endorsements and
Mm-hmm.
Jeopardy if he gets the
State
Jeopardy.
Farm.
So, anyways, all right. One of the biggest things, news wise, coming into this week here was fifth year options. Like Reed said on the pre show on Thursday, I have not looked it up exactly if it was today, if the deadline was today, but I believe it was to pick up or decline fifth year options for the first round class of 2018. Panthers also, for their AGM spots, they have requested permission to interview Eagles assistant director of player personnel Ian Cunningham. So just another person for the Panthers to interview there. But anyways, fifth year options. Before we get into who got picked up, who didn't, Field Yates tweeted out some stats on the 2018 draft class. 21 of 32 players had their options picked up. I only have the list of players that we didn't say on Thursday. And that includes Raiders left tackle Colton Miller, who signed an extension already. 9 out of the top 10 and 18 out of the top 20 had theirs exercised. And then 4 out of the 5 quarterbacks had it picked up. The one out of the picture there was one Mr. Josh Rosen. So, but all right, the list of guys that I have that got it picked up today or over the weekend. Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold, that is $18.8 million for 2022. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, he gets $23.1 million. Packers corner Jair Alexander, Broncos linebacker Bradley Chubb, Chargers safety Derwin James, Niners right tackle Mike McGlinchey, Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley, that's $11.1 million. Bills quarterback Josh Allen, Bills linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, and then Patriots offensive lineman Isaiah Wynn.
Just a quick note, because obviously you couldn't find the numbers for all of them, but I did find Josh Allen is the same as Lamar Jackson, 23.1, and Tremaine Edmonds is 12.7. So, but maybe you'll know this, maybe you don't. I don't know, but are the fifth year options, are they already predetermined when, like, by like whatever they're drafted or whatever, or position or anything, or is it negotiated within the contract when they sign as a rookie?
I'm not exactly sure. I think because now, they have the rookie wage scale, so all those contracts, I believe the first 4 years are set.
Mm-hmm.
I think just looking at, the differences because, Lamar and Josh Allen were picked after Sam Darnold. I believe Sam Darnold's is lower based off maybe incentives, playing incentives, because, Lamar and Josh Allen have made Pro Bowls already.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? It is based off that. Because remember a couple weeks ago, I had said something, or maybe that was restricted free agents. I don't know,
but that is why I was asking though, because Darnold was the third overall pick, and he's making $5 million less than Lamar and Josh Allen are. So I didn't know if the trade had anything to do with it, or
It
I
could have.
didn't know the reason. I didn't know if you did.
Yeah, the trade could have had something to do with it too. Guys that got their options declined. Steelers safety Terrell Edmonds, Seahawks back Rashad Penny, Titans linebacker Rashawn Evans. The Titans have said though that they hope to get him signed long term. Vikings corner Mike Hughes, Falcons tight end Hayden Hurst, Patriots running back Sony Michel. That one is not confirmed, but they said that that's likely to get declined. And that's all that I have for the declined ones.
There is another big one that you missed. Then, we were talking about him on Thursday night, I think, but the Cowboys also.
Oh yeah, Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah.
Which made sense with the drafting of Michael Parsons.
But they said the same thing as the Titans, though, that they are not closing the book on him. They're open to still signing him to a long-term deal. But that right there, with them and the Titans, that doesn't make any sense to me then. Like, if they want to sign long-term deals with these guys, why give yourself a year less to negotiate?
Because they can't make it work with the cap.
Yeah.
That's why. Because they already have their caps for 3 seasons. And if it doesn't fit into the cap right now, it doesn't make sense to exercise it.
That's true.
Other news here, the Steelers, they finally got their extension done with quarterback Mason Rudolph. It's a 1-year, $5 million extension. Max value, I believe, is $9 million because the thing that I saw said that there is $4 million extra in incentives. So $9 million max for Mason Rudolph. And he is the only quarterback signed for the Steelers through 2022. So,
yeah, that the Steelers are one team that I'm kind of surprised didn't go after a quarterback, especially one of those later guys, like the Ellinger or Ian Book even. But
they've stuck by Mason Rudolph, former 2nd round pick. I mean, they also have other guys that they believe in the building. Josh Dobbs, his 2nd stint in Pittsburgh, as well as Dwayne Haskins, who they signed this offseason. So, Chiefs made an interesting signing. They signed running back Jerick McKinnon to the vet minimum, 1 year, $1.075 million. Only counts for, I believe it said like 300,000 on his cap or something like that, because it qualifies for the vet minimum. So, or 800,000 maybe. I don't know.
Jerick McKinnon, I feel like, is the journeyman of running backs. I feel like he's on a different team every year.
Yeah, and he hasn't played since Minnesota, right? He didn't play in San Francisco. No, he played a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. But not much.
Nothing of notice. And the Falcons, they were in everyone's rumor mill talking about quarterbacks, who they're going to get. Matt Schaub retired, so they need a new backup anyways, regardless of whether they drafted for the future quarterback or not. Well, they didn't draft a quarterback, but they did sign one. They got A.J. McCarron as their new backup to Matty Ice in Atlanta. So,
I mean, that's not a bad option. I personally, like, when he was first coming out, I thought that he'd be somebody's like solid starter by now, but things just haven't worked out for McCarron, and he's been a journeyman backup to this point in his career. So, I mean, I don't see that really changing, but
was a part of some of the Texans playoff teams.
Yeah.
Also was with the Bengals. So,
Mhm.
all right. Big news today. This is probably the biggest move today. The Bears released left tackle Charles Leno. Has started every game the last 5 seasons. And they drafted Tevin Jenkins in the second round. He is now expected to start at left tackle. This will save Chicago $9 million on the cap. That will be a post June 1 move to save $9 million. So a lot of teams still need left tackles. I'm praying that he comes to Pittsburgh. They need a left tackle there. So,
or a team that you were talking about before, the Colts. They have a glaring need at left tackle. I could see him going there, and he's a solid replacement for any team, or a solid plug-in player, I should say, for any team that is lacking the left tackle position.
yeah, I believe the Chargers need one too still. Yes, they do. Or no, Rashawn Slater. Never mind.
That's like, wait a minute.
I don't know why when that news came out though. I think it was Rap Sheet that put on there that hashtag Chargers, hashtag Colts, hashtag Steelers.
I mean, he doesn't make as much sense for the Chargers because they did get Slater, but Slater is a versatile lineman, though. He could slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. If they would sign Leno would play left tackle, and Slater would go over to right guard to fill in for Odea Balshi there.
Mm-hmm.
So, last thing I have, we have dates for next year's draft in Vegas, April 28th through the 30th.
So we have to wait 1 day less. I like it.
I just like that it's all in April. I thought it was stupid to have it. I mean, you can't. You obviously you can't change how the calendar is, but you know, I just like that the draft Saturday was on May 1st. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, that's it. That's it for the news. We're 2 hours in. Have one more thing to go through. Favorite Monday game? Would you rather? All draft related, obviously, except the fourth one is non-football. So let's do it. Better fantasy season this year. Great. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Who would rather have it in fantasy this year?
Oof. I mean, that's a tough one because I think personally the Jets have a better receiving core than the Jaguars, but the Jaguars have the better running backs. So I don't know if that's going to help the receivers. Plus, the Jaguars have the Clemson connection with Lawrence and Etienne. So I don't know. I'm just gonna go bias here. I'm gonna say Zach Wilson's going to have the better season.
I'm gonna go Trevor Lawrence because I think that the AFC East is probably closer because I think the Jets and Patriots games are going to be tough. You know, the Dolphins seem to always falter regardless of how much talent they have. So I think those games could be tight ones as well. I don't think the Jets have a shot against the Bills. No offense, Chris, but that is what the picture looks like. In the AFC South, though, going to be tough games. I don't think the Jags right now have a shot at either the Colts, nor do they have a shot at the Titans. The Texans are really their chances to get wins. So the reason why I said that I'm looking at it for a divisional standpoint is when you look at fantasy, obviously you want to get the most yards, most touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. And because I think the Jags are going to be down to the Titans and the Colts, Trevor Lawrence is going to throw the ball a lot.
Mhm.
And that's 8 of their games.
6.
Six of their games. 4 of their games against the Colts and Titans. So,
But I mean, I know it's a different team this year, but the Jaguars' lonely win last year was against the Colts. Just saying.
yeah. But, so yeah, I don't think Zach Wilson is going to throw the ball as much. Plus, I believe the offense is vastly different. I don't know why I'm blanking on who the OC is in Jacksonville. Because the last guy I can remember was Jed Fish, but I don't think that's the guy. But in New York,
Darrell Bevel.
Darrell Bever. Okay, so Russell Wilson's old OC in Seattle, as well as Matthew Stafford's in Detroit. So yeah, I think they're definitely in an offense that throws the ball more than the New York offense is, with Mike LaFleur coming from that Kyle Shanahan play action style. So they're gonna probably run the ball more, even though they don't have the running backs that Jacksonville does. So yeah, I still think Trevor Lawrence is gonna have a better season. So.
Fair.
All right, next one here. We're going all offense. So running backs, 6 Jags as well. The only 2 first-round running backs, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne. You already know I'm going Najee Harris. I already said it before. I think he has offensive rookie of the year candidacy, being the lead back in Pittsburgh. They are going to go back to their old Pittsburgh Steeler ways, run the ball, and have Ben mix in some throws. It's not going to be the offense that we've seen the last 2 years with Ben just slinging the rock 50 times a game.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh does finally have their clear-cut number 1 running back and all that. But I still think that ETN has the better. I think he's the better overall player. I think he's the better pass catcher. He's the better all-around player. But if we are talking fantasy, then I would go with Harris, because he doesn't really have, or he probably will share some carries, but not nearly as many as ETN will with Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's why really more on Najee's side, because Travis Etienne has to deal with the incumbent in James Robinson, who had a fantastic rookie season last year. So I think Jacksonville is going to look more like the Cleveland Browns, really. Two-headed monster at running back. Like I said, I don't expect them to run as much than a team like the Browns, but they should still have close. I think Etienne will eventually end up getting more carries, but I think it'll be close the first half of the season. All right. Third one here, rookie wide receivers. Alabama boys, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, this one, I hate that I have to pick Jalen Waddle here because he's with the Dolphins now. But I've said it this entire year with Devontae Smith. Yes, he won the Heisman. Yes, he was the best offensive player in college football, whatever. But I don't think that's going to translate into the NFL because he's so undersized. I couldn't get that out. But yeah, he's very small for an NFL receiver. So regardless of if he's playing the slot or going outside, whatever. I still think that the defensive backs in the NFL will be able to push him around a lot, and he won't be able to get as open or get the separation that he would need to succeed. Jalen Waddle, on the other hand, though, I think that he can clearly, or I think he has a clear shot at being a number one receiver in this league. And I mean, this season he will be with Will Fuller and Devontae Parker still. So I don't know where he fits on the depth chart with them, but I think by season's end, he will be probably the leader in catches and yards for the Dolphins there.
Yeah, got a lot of people to throw the ball to. Tua does. Like you said, the receivers also have Mike Gesicki and Hunter Long as well. So got to factor the tight ends, running backs as well. Get some catches there. But I'm going to be a homer once again and go with Devontae Smith. He is the clear-cut number one receiver in Philadelphia. There is no one that is probably even close to the skill set that he can bring to the Eagles. And my thing is, Chris, his size is not a big issue for me. Just because you said about the corners getting on him, they're not going to touch him. He's too fast. He's too quick. He'll get off the line and they won't even, before they even blink. I mean, his footwork is just so good that he'll be able to turn corners around. And I think obviously both guys have an advantage going back with college quarterbacks that they played with at Alabama. So, yeah, I just like Devontae Smith and his skill set and his target share more than Jalen Waddle's.
Now, this kind of branches off them, though. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Tua?
Tua, because of the offense that he's in with the amount of playmakers. I think that Jalen Hurts has the opportunity to have a better has an opportunity to have a better fantasy season because Jalen Hurts runs the ball. Tua really doesn't. And I think that factors well into the Eagles' offense. I'm not really sure what type of offense Nick Sirianni is going to run definitively, but I would imagine it's going to be something along the lines of what Frank Reich runs in Indianapolis, which I think is good, is a good offense to run with Jalen Hurts' skill set. A lot of RPOs with a running quarterback is definitely tough to stop, as well as now the Eagles have a really good backfield with Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, as well as with the guy that they drafted this year, Kenneth Gainwell, just continuing the Memphis running back line. Memphis has a legitimate claim to the RBU throne, I would say. Them and Georgia has produced the more high-profile running backs, but Memphis has produced very solid running backs the last couple of seasons, capped off last year by Antonio Gibson's rookie season. And we'll see. They also have Tony Pollard with Dallas. We'll see what Kenneth Gainwell does in Philadelphia this year. But, yeah, I got to go with Devontae Smith, though.
All right. So we were on opposite sides for
all three.
All three, yeah. So
we might be on opposite sides again for this one. I'm on the fence for the last one though. So better sporting event, mega events here. Again, it's non-football, so we're not talking about the Super Bowl. we just had Derby Day on Saturday. Luckily, the Kentucky Derby, the draft ended just as the Kentucky Derby was getting started. They were getting walked to their posts as the 7th round concluded, which was just perfect timing. So this is see, I told you, Aaron Rodgers, Shailene Woodley on the far left though. I believe that's David Bakhtiari.
I think so, yeah.
Second guy, I'm not sure who the two other dudes are though. But yeah, so I should have put the logo instead of just cars wrecking. But we're gonna go. Would you rather have the Kentucky Derby or the Daytona 500? I was on the fence though between Daytona 500 and Indianapolis 500. Indianapolis 500 is the more international event, like the Kentucky Derby is, but I went Daytona 500 instead.
Yeah, I think Daytona 500 is probably the bigger national event. So, but I don't know. For me, it's a tough choice. Because I mean, they're both so similar. They're both racing. But for me, I think I'd rather the Kentucky Derby, because for me, the NASCAR racing and stuff like that, yeah, it's exciting at times, but for the most part, it's just hours of watching them go in circles. So there's certain moments that it can be exciting, especially at the end. But that's also why I prefer horse racing, because it's only one lap and it's pretty much exciting for that entire minute or however long it is that they go around the track. Except for this year, the same horse was leading the entire race all the way around. But yeah, I know it's a very big like stereotype and very big narrative with NASCAR and stuff, and that's why it's hard to get fans for them. But like I said, I prefer watching only in like towards the end of the race for that. I can't sit there for hours and watch that.
Yeah, I am going to go with the Daytona 500. Not just because I'm a NASCAR fan, but that's one thing I don't like about the Kentucky Derby is that it's so short. You literally NBC spends like 6 hours pre-race. Obviously, you get the preliminary races. They show those usually during the coverage before the Kentucky Derby. But it's literally you have this whole lead up, and then it's just 30 seconds or whatever, 2 minutes for one lap. And yeah, it's just too short for me. I like 500 miles. You can have a whole party, during the whole race. At Daytona, especially because it is a super speedway, it is one of the most exciting tracks with the big one, as you can see there, where, half the field is capable of getting wiped out. And then it's really an event that anyone can win, as we saw this year with Michael McDowell taking the checkered flag. No one thought he was going to win it. Also, I don't like the Kentucky Derby as much because I've lost too much money betting on the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown races as a whole, Belmont Stakes and the Preakness as well. Medina Spirit really killed my spirit this year. I did not have him winning in any of my cards. So, yeah.
Yeah, I for the Kentucky Derby, I did I don't even know what the bet was called or whatever, but I had to pick 4 horses and 3 of them had to come in the top 3. And the only one I picked was Medina Spirit. None of my other ones came anywhere near the top 3. And I can't even take credit for that because my girlfriend and I each picked 2. She was the one that picked Medina Spirit, so she picked the winner, but we don't get any money for that, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it was probably either a trifecta box. Trifecta box, you can pick as many horses as you want, and just you have to pick the top three in any order. But or if you, I don't know, yeah, if it was top three you had to get and you picked four, and then it was probably trifecta box, or I don't know if they do boxes for win place show, because that's in a specific order. So
Yeah.
probably trifecta box is where you went.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you would have had to pick four in the exact order, which is a superfecta.
Yeah. No, we didn't do that.
All right. That is the show for today. A little longer. Did not expect to take that much time on the draft. But I love the draft. Like I said on Thursday, it was Christmas in April.
Yep.
And like I said again, I was on my couch watching every single draft pick.
Mhm.
If anyone ever wants to know who their team drafted in the last 5 years, I have it on an Excel sheet. If you don't want to look it up, that is, just let me know. I'll send it. But yeah, that is the show for today. On Friday, we're still figuring out plans of who's going to host. Hopefully, Mark will be able to host. Otherwise, might have to wait on the show, or do it on Thursday, depending. We'll have to see.
Mhm.
Have my sister's wedding this weekend, so that should be a good time. Have the rehearsal dinner on Friday night, so won't be able to be on the whole show, but I will be able to be on, if we have it, in the beginning to give my thoughts on the FCS semifinal preview. But yeah, on next Monday's show, we will have the FCS recap of the semifinal games this weekend. We'll have a mini preview of the FCS championship game coming up. And then we will also continue our divisional draft recap series. Hopefully, if we have the show on Friday, we will do the NFC South. We'll go reverse order, like we went in regular order, leading up to the draft. We will go in reverse order for the draft recaps.
Mhm.
Next Monday should be the NFC North draft recap, breaking down Vikings, Lions, Packers, and Bears drafts there. All right. Don't forget to follow us, as always, here on YouTube and our Facebook page. Check us
Mhm.
out at our website, faapodcast.com. Hit the shop button on the top right. We appreciate you buying swag. And also, our social media handle is at FAA Podcast. Find us on Instagram and Twitter
Mhm.
and Spotify as well.
For those of you that have been waiting for my top 10 first rounders, I know I didn't post it yet. I had some stuff going on over the weekend, so I wasn't able to, but I'll try to get that out either tonight or tomorrow during the day at some point.
All right. Thank you, Chris, and go Pens.